Evening.
Hi, how are you?
Good, Sean. How are you?
Good. Warmer than I've been all day because we don't have any heat in the office.
Oh no, that's not good. It's been very cold.
It has been. Last week it started getting warmer as the week went on. So Friday I was thinking we'd work from home and then it went up to 61. I'm like, everybody in. But today was chilly and hopefully trying to get National Grid to show up and turn it back on. So fingers crossed for tomorrow.
Okay, I hope it's better tomorrow.
I hate this part of a meeting just before it begins, but when it's really close and there aren't a lot of people on the screen yet. But we sent out a reminder. I checked with Daryl White. We were in touch on Friday.
hmm So people hopefully will be joining soon.
Yeah, it's funny, the more like people jump on late oftentimes,
hmm
and it's not a terrible thing, but I'm like, we're meeting from home, people. Like, it wasn't traffic that slowed you down.
Yeah, but sometimes people are coming in, from work or other meetings or things like that. So,
It's true. I also like have that hope of just getting, I'll just do this one last thing and then I'll sit down. Let me just do this one last thing. Let me just put this one thing away. Just quickly unload the dishwasher, then I'll sit down.
exactly.
Are you working from home, 1 or 2 days a week?
Yes, hybrid. So I think this week, because of the holiday, I'll only be in the office tomorrow.
That's nice.
Yes. My company has they decided post-pandemic to be completely hybrid.
And do you like that? Does it work out for you? Or do you feel,
Me very well.
yeah,
It's been about 7 months since I left city government. So, oh, did you say someone? Lost someone? I'll
I
be
get
right
it
back.
back.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Florencia. Good evening, Nina.
Hello, everybody.
Hi. Hi, Yvette.
Hi.
Oh, Sean. Sorry.
Sorry, I was just emailing the presenters just to nudge. But what? Hi, what?
Hi. No, it's just when is the Lunch and Learn series on diabetes? Did we have a theme or health?
I thought that's really what we were gonna discuss and pin down tonight.
Oh, okay. Oh, so we're going to settle it.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Yeah.
And I brought my calendar and everything so we can really hit the ground running.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So we're waiting on the presenters then?
Yeah, I'm.
Good evening.
Hi, Glenn.
And how are
Hey,
you
Glenn.
this lovely evening?
Well, tired, but good.
Oh, it's very nice out. We've got some heavy rain coming apparently, so enjoy it while we can, right?
Yes, exactly. Okay.
Well, I confirmed with Gerald White on Friday and he said he was looking forward to it. I sent they sent the reminder links this afternoon. It is only 4 minutes late, but do you want to give it another minute, or we could just begin the planning conversation and then interrupt ourselves when he shows up? So whatever the co-chairs prefer to do.
So, Yvette, do you want to wait or we can just go ahead and plan until he shows up?
Either one is fine with me, Florencia.
Okay.
It's about 6:35 now.
Okay. So we can plan, Sean, and when he shows up, we'll interrupt ourselves.
Okay. Okay. Do you want to introduce the idea of the lunch and learn?
Okay. All right. Just I was thinking that, and Yvette and Sean and we had a conversation before sometime earlier this, well, you know, we had a conversation in regards to hosting a lunch and learn series in regards to diabetes, because like I went to several seminars and there's a difference between the uh the lifespan of folks in Flatbush as opposed to Park Slope. That they said for Flatbush is 74 and Park Slope it's 83, and 16% of residents have diabetes as opposed to 6% of the other communities. And so type 2 diabetes is more prevalent in the Flatbush diaspora. And so we wanted to do a Lunch and Learn series in honor of Dwayne, who, succumbed to this disease. So here we are planning when we'll do it.
It was diabetes that killed Dwayne. Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's as far as I learned, yes.
Okay. Okay, just curiosity. Thank you.
I think a part of the conversation was focusing in on Wednesdays, because we want to get as much information in a lunch and learn as possible. And Wednesdays happens to be the day of the week that there are 5 Wednesdays in January. And we would set it up sort of the same way that we did the lunch and learn on housing and land use. And so it would be, totally remote, 1 to 2. They would be recorded and then put on the website to live there forever and ever as a valuable resource. We would draw on the contacts on this committee and beyond for presenters, and frankly have to kind of hurry up next week and the week after to start booking people. And then Florencia had focused on the conversations we had on diabetes, which we had talked about. And Yvette, tell me if we're remembering this right or wrong, but I think we had talked about that as a main focus, but then also discussed the possibility of doing other health themes as well. So whether we wanted to do the first, third, and fifth on diabetes, or the first 3 on diabetes and leave the next 2 for other things, we have those options. So that is some good food for thought. Nina does have a hand up on this, but we have been joined by Daryl White from the state AG's office. So should Nina Chairs, do you want Nina to go ahead, or should we all think while Daryl White speaks?
I think we can think, and Yvette will introduce Mr. White.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our first Human Service Committee meeting. I'm pleased to introduce Daryl White, who will be giving us a presentation on senior services provided by the New York State Office of the Attorney General. And following Mr. White's presentation, we'll have opportunity to ask any questions.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome, Daryl.
Yes, welcome. And you're muted, so we're unable to hear you.
I do that at every meeting. I'm still not used to it. Here we going on 2023, and I'm still muted and talking at the same time. I wasn't used to it in 2022 or 2021, and I guess I'm still not used to it now. However, thank you guys for inviting me. Thank you, Sean, for inviting me. Thank you, Madam Chairs. I appreciate it. I ran into Sean at a presentation at the Major Owens event, and my immediate boss, Michael Barbosa, the Attorney General in charge of the Brooklyn Queens Regional Office, was also giving the presentation, and I was doing the tabling. And it was a senior event that was given. And again, I hadn't seen Sean in quite some time. I was with the AG when she was the public advocate. And I think I came to 1 or 2 meetings, Sean, I'm not so sure, one of the cabinet meetings. In any event, the current AG, who is the first, I would say, African-American woman, but she's also the first woman to actually be elected to a statewide office and to the Attorney General's office. So that in itself is a historic event. And I'm glad I was able to be with her, and she was able to ask me to come to the AG's office and be helpful, and I hope I have thus far. And so let's get right to, I guess, the crust of Sean asking me to come to the meeting. This is a combined meeting, correct? community meeting and a health meeting, or is it just
This is the Human Service Committee. And so the focus on the senior services is what we had talked about, but any other services that pertain. And then, yeah, if you want to stick around for the conversation we're going to have afterward, it's going to be an exciting conversation about a plan we have for a health-centered lunch and learn series.
That's great. That's wonderful. And so what usually happens when I'm at a senior meeting is I always talk about the different scams that go on. And in lieu of the holiday season, we are usually asked to come by senior centers more often to talk about the different type of scams that go on. And one of the things that we have at our disposal is what we have called the Smart Senior Booklet. I should have sent, and I will, Sean, send you a copy of that so that you can have that and disseminate it to the seniors, and not just seniors. It's a Smart Senior book, but it's also for everyone, because none of us are all of us are subject to being scammed at some point, and that's unfortunate.
Is it just my screen that's frozen?
No, we've lost
Okay.
Mr. White. His screen
Oh.
froze.
Yeah, maybe there's some technical issues happening.
So, Mr. White, I don't know if you can hear us still, but we cannot hear you. If you want to maybe sign out and sign back in.
Sean, do you have like a contact email or number? I'm gonna try to contact Mr. White offline. Oh, there he is. Oh, but frozen. I think it's, yeah. Wondering if maybe having his camera off would help.
I was going to suggest that if you'd come back and just put the audio on.
So where did I leave off at?
You were at the OAG Smart Senior Booklet, and you're going to send a copy or copies to our board office.
I was just chatting away then. So let me get you guys back up to speed where I'm at. So we use terms as stay safe, take control, and fight back. And these are terms that we talk to our seniors about in regards to what they need to have happen. Unfortunately, fraud and abuse against our seniors is so devastating. They even have statistics that go on to talk about there's 51% of fraud that goes on outside of the home, and 34%, unfortunately, seniors are scammed by, unfortunately, either friends, neighbors, or in some cases, unfortunately, family members. But most scammers kind of play on the age thing, and I don't know how they know that, but most of the ones that the statistics that we've taken are unfortunately seniors that are alone, that live alone, and are in their 80s, unfortunately. But they could be at any age. they could be in their 60s, they can be in their 30s. What most scammers are really good talkers, unfortunately, and they prey on anyone who they feel or they get a sense of vulnerability, right? Especially when you're alone. And I don't know how they know this, but they do, and they do an unfortunately really good job to the point where we lose in income. Seniors do nationwide $3 billion, which is unreal, but it's also real. Is unfortunate, but scams, fraud and scammers come in different sizes and shapes, right? And the first step is always to know what to look for, and to watch out for different kind of hooks. The different kind of scams. Sometimes we're very trusting and trustworthy, and when something sounds like my boss would say, Michael Barbosa, if something sounds too good to be true, then it's obviously too good to be true. And so, what we uh, what we focus on are like the sweepstakes scams. Most of the time, when you get that check in the mail and it has $10,000, and usually people cash it because they're vulnerable, because they're in a situation where it's needed, and it always seems to come during the holiday season, also when you just need that extra dollar or two. So we try to keep seniors safe by making sure that when you see that check, and we usually have a check, I usually put a check up that looks like one of the scammer checks and whatnot, and so that they can see what they actually are looking like. If they come from U.S. Bank, they also always have um, information on it, like this is the National Bureau of Consumer Protection Agency, or they have something else that makes it look so authentic that it's real. And it's unfortunate that sometimes our seniors don't have anyone to talk to, and they become vulnerable and do the things that they shouldn't do, like put the check in their account and tell that person what the account number is. So we try to make sure that we give them the kind of information that's helpful to them by having this booklet, this Smart Senior, and like I said, I'll send this to Sean, but it's a booklet of about 18 pages where they can just put on their nightstand and read from time to time. The booklet is basically aimed to help and stop scam artists and abusers before they kind of strike, right? We try to give them this book so that they can look at it during this time of year, so that they can be armed with the information that's hopefully um, necessary, so that they can read and see some of the things that may go on. We talk about how the Attorney General's office also, if it happens, and if you're able to get a number or an email address or an address from someone, that we have investigators and prosecutors who specialize in fighting consumer fraud. And so we need that information. Sometimes seniors are by themselves and they don't want you to know that they've been scammed because they're embarrassed by it, right? And we try to tell them, don't be embarrassed. We need that information so that we could be helpful and try to track down who these bad hombres are. Um, because it's if it's not you, then it may be somebody else, which is unfortunate. So, I mean, we know that there's a sense of fear and desperation sometimes that we have, our seniors have from time to time, because they've been scammed, and so their fear is to not tell, and then they go and they're in their apartments or homes, and they're depressed by the fact that they've been scammed, and they feel like wow, how could this happen to me? So we try to make sure that we talk to or go to as many senior centers as possible. We also talk about the different type of scams, such as the grandparent scams. I don't know if any of you guys have heard about it or seen it, but we have pamphlets on our AG website, ag.ny.gov, and all of the different scams that I'm talking about, other than the Smart Senior booklet, are on there. Where, Sean, you can actually pull off the information. It comes in a little folder. Let me see if I have where you can just pull off and fold up and put into your office also. So those are the grandparent scam. The most significant scams that we've come across early this year are the internet scams. And what we try to tell our seniors and everybody and anybody, when you go on the websites, and now we've been on websites since the pandemic and now post-pandemic, is that we still want to be sure that when we're on the sites, we either see that S or the lock, right, that makes that site as secure as possible. You don't want to really go on sites that don't have that little lock on there on the bar or the S there, so that we know that it's secure, as secure as it can be. Unfortunately, everything is not foolproof, but we know that those sites that have that on there are secure. You need strong passwords, right? You want to make sure that it's not your date of birth, it's not your address. Those kind of things are what scammers look for. Your birthdays, your mom's maiden name, your children's name, things like that. You want to make sure that those are not, there. You want to make strong passwords by using the different signs, the quote marks, periods, and you want to write them down also, because you don't want to forget. So you want to make sure that you have the hash sign, things of that nature, right? And you want to make sure that you don't use your debit cards. And that's what I tell our seniors all the time. Please do not use your debit card, because that's linked most of the time straight to your bank account. And God forbid that should happen, that they would be able to get into your account. And one of those things is so that we, as the Attorney General's office, may not be able to retrieve that money back. Credit card is different. Credit card has a limit on how much money you can take from that. And if we find them, we can, most of the time, kind of retrieve that. But anything leaking to your bank and them taking it out of there would be a not even a difficult position. It would be almost impossible to be able to retrieve that once that happens. So we try to make sure that the sites you're on and having strong passwords are one of the main things, that because we're all on the internet now, we're all, we've graduated. Before we would, go to the physical store, but now everything since the pandemic has happened, we use the internet more than ever. And because we do, they do also, and which is the problem. I want to move on to the telemarketers. I don't know if you're still getting those calls. I know at one point they were ravishing our phones, but we don't get that complaint as much. Sean, I don't know if community board, the members of 14 are getting any more of those calls, or is it slacked up somewhat?
I haven't heard. I don't know that I heard about a whole lot of them directly anyway, but I can check in with the precinct to see if there's been complaints there. I doubt it stopped altogether, but you're right, it may have just waned a little bit.
Yeah. If that's not working anymore, so they moved on to something else. That's all. What we've also done is hooked up with AARP and have done shredding exercises at some senior centers also, as opposed to just throwing your mail out. Because believe it or not, um, they will go into your mail, well, not just into your mailbox, if in fact you have a home, but they will go into the garbage and try to link things up. At first, I thought it was a joke when we got to the Attorney General's office, but we found out that that was the least funny thing that we heard. That is something that happens, and it's so real. So we used to get, we got together with ARP and would do shredding parties and have, because I hold on to paper too. I'm a hoarder when it comes to paper, unfortunately. But yeah, but what's good is that we bought a shredder, and now we're doing more shredding. But even seniors still continue to hold on to their bills and papers to the side, and they just dump them from time to time. And I think uh, the AARP and having shredding parties, and even having a shred party at the community board office, or having, saying, the ARP is here, and you could come here and you can shred your bills, because it's a deterrent, right? It's something that should be done. Again, people are constantly inside. I mean, they're just constantly trying to find different ways to take your hard-earned money, which is a sin and a shame in itself. So that's one of the things that we encourage also. Um, and then we talk about uh, elder abuse, which is when I think about it, it hits my heart that someone would be so brazen as to abuse, anybody for that matter, but even a senior for that matter. And also what happens is that seniors don't always alert you, friends, family, anyone, to the abuse that they're taking. So there's different signs that you can look for, right? Especially physical, like broken glasses, eyeglasses, um, unusually lost weight, you know, or poor hygiene. There are different things that give signs to maybe there's something going on that they won't say, right? And there's nothing wrong with you asking, how's everything? Is everything okay? In a manner in which they will feel comfortable in being able to speak to you, like to say that there may be something wrong, right? There are other things to watch for, um, not engaging, being reluctant in coming to the senior center or even out for that matter. So some of those things are some things to look out for, with with friends and other members of the community that you may know that are living alone. You just never know. So those are just some of the different signs that you can look out for when you haven't seen your friends in a while. Hey, how are you? How you been? How's everything? And again, if they're looking, a little disheveled and everything else, it's okay to ask how people are doing. Um, I'm moving. Am I moving too quickly, Sean? Do I have a little bit more time to? Okay. So
It's up to the co-chairs. This is,
So one of the things that I've learned in my old age and being around family and friends is this thing called a will. And I know we all, we kind of talk about it on the peripheral, but it's actually something that we should probably talk more about, because there are plenty of people who do not have wills, or at least have written something down that they've either notarized or uh, have talk to their family members, and that's a little dear to my heart too. I go back and think about my grandfather, and he didn't have a will, and family members always have a tendency to say, well, when dad died or when grandpa died, he told me that I could have this and I could have that and things of that nature and whatnot. And family members, I know my family members, and I know friends of family members. I've been in the middle of a couple of throwdowns based on what what he thought you said and what he didn't say. And I know for my family, we get a little crazy. And so we talk to seniors about having a will, having a power of attorney, making sure that there's someone that's there that you want to be able to handle the things when you become incapacitated. My mom didn't have that, and subsequently, family members from dad's side said, well, I talked to her the other day and she said that I could have this and I could have a coat and I could have the shoes. And she said I could have the lamp from great, 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 great grand. So those things sound, a little funny, but it leads to other things, right? It leads, and it could lead to, who left the house to who, and the bank account and how she's getting buried and things of that nature. So I kind of try to talk about the power of attorney and wills, right? And resuscitation we talk about also, and it's all in the book. It's all kind of laid out so that you get a chance to read it and absorb it. We also talk about the idea of different charities, right? Being aware of the different charities, and if you're going to give money to different places, you ought to make sure that they are registered, and every charity in New York State has to be registered with the New York State of Attorney General, and that's our Charities Bureau. And our Charities Bureau is www.charitiesnewyorkstate.nys.com, and you can pull it up and you can find out what charities are legitimate, right? Because again, you have to be registered with the New York State Attorney General, like you have to be registered with the California Attorney General, like the Chicago. You have to be registered, and you got to, you want to just make sure that the money that you're giving, because it's coming from your heart, right? That you're giving it to a reputable company. So those are the things you want to watch out for. You want to make sure that seniors watch out for that also. So then, getting back to the identity theft piece, the Federal Trade Commission has a consumer response unit that if in fact you believe your identity has been stolen, you can call them and us also, although the identity theft is more of a federal issue because it has everything to do with wiretapping, basically. And so their number is 877 382 4357. That's the Federal Trade Commission Consumer Response Unit, just in case. And so now you have it, and you've been deputized to make sure that that if you know someone, you're bound and you swore on the oath that you will give this information freely. And I wanted to do one more So they use this term phishing, PHI, right? And so obviously those are, bad actors trying to find your password information, your username, and what have you, and pretend that they're, either government agencies or something else, and that there's a problem with your account, right? They come across that way. But we found, Mr. White, we found out that there's something wrong with your account. Can you give me your number to your credit card to make sure? So when you hear little buzzwords like that, you kind of almost want to say, who is this again? And where you calling from? And how did you even get my number? Those kind of things. So those are, and we tell seniors, obviously never give out your social security number, right? Never give out your personal information, never any numbers or passwords, things of that nature. Because you know, sometimes people can come off, the scammers can come off sounding official. And sometimes seniors get threatened by different tones of voices from men or women that sound like they're in authority. We've called you because and we're from and they give this long list of whoever the heck they are, and sound like they're a person of authority, where we found this and that, and we need your information to make sure that you say who you say you are. So we always want to be careful about giving your personal information to people. And Sean, I will send. We have a deed theft pamphlet now. The Attorney General and the Governor just finished signing some information regarding deed theft, and we're actually trying to put that in a pamphlet now, so that we can send that out to the seniors and to the community boards and police precincts and whoever is meeting where, because we know that for a fact that they're trying to just prey on us, prey on folks that they believe are vulnerable, unfortunately. And the deed theft piece that the Attorney General and the Governor that just signed, and we're still trying to put some wording together, but we've come up with a little deed theft pamphlet that's on our website also, Sean, and I can always send you this information too. It has our number on it, and one of the things that I noticed on the website of Community Board 14 is that you're having a great bottom half of the month, where tomorrow you're having NHS, right, neighborhood service, to come and speak, or if not, they already came. But in any case, they have useful information also. They were part of the deed theft signing, along with Bedford-Stuyvesant Legal Aid Services and Legal Aid Service on Court Street. And then on our site, we have the Homeowners Protection Program, and of course, the Attorney General's website that has ag.ny.gov/protect our homes. So that's something that Community Board, I know 8 and 3 and 2 were getting hit really hard. I know 16 out in Flatbush and East New York now also, unfortunately. And just because you've paid off the mortgage doesn't mean that the property taxes still need to be paid and things of that nature. And I think sometimes our seniors forget to pay those, and they go into the Department of Finance, and what the bad actors do, they get on ACRIS because they know how to do that, unfortunately, which is and I don't know why it's so open like that. I've talked with the AG a few times, and she says that's something that the mayor's office and I think the city council members need to tighten up on certain things, and that's one of those things because now that they can find out, if you're uh, not paying them, and that's how the door swings open. I can help you pay this, and then sign this and sign that, and all of a sudden the deed is gone, right? Because they've been able to, yeah, I hate to use the term manipulate, but they've been able to, infiltrate your good naturedness, and they've seemed like they were really good people, and they're not, you know. So those are most of the things that we talk to senior centers and seniors that we get invited to, whether it's Brooklyn or Queens. That's mostly our area. Uh, we get together with pastors and churches, and when they meet also, and church groups meet, and we speak to them. The AG is wants to make sure that we keep our generational wealth, right? And one of the things is making sure that we stay safe and take control and fight back. And by staying safe is making sure that we talk to the right people, and we take control of the things that we need to, and we fight back by giving out the information and making sure that the proper authorities know what's going on also. So I hope I didn't bore you too much with the information. I hope I didn't speed through this. My boss says I do a lot of talking. He says sometimes you talk more than you need to. And I say, you're probably right. He's always over me with a stopwatch, but I try to get in as much information as possible so that this way you can have the information to give to the people that you know and love, so that they can be able to stay safe and take control and fight back.
Thank you so much, Mr. White, for all of the good information that you shared with us today. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. White about anything that he mentioned?
Oh, yeah.
Great. Okay. Why don't we start with Florencia and then we'll go to Sean.
I'll allow Sean to go first. It's okay.
Oh, thanks. I just a quick follow-up on, first of all, my grandmother just called that the gift of gab, so it's a gift. I wanted to ask you about, you were talking about all of the preventative work you do at senior centers to keep them from becoming victims, but because I know that your office then prosecutes these cases, is there a victim services organization that you work with to support anybody like Safe Horizons or anybody who's going through the prosecution process?
We usually work with neighborhood services. We work with them, and we work with it's called HOP,
Okay.
homeowners protection folks. And we were just out in Queens, in whose council district that is. Oh, and I don't know if anybody knows Leroy Comrie. He's the state senator out in Queens. So we were out in Queens, and we did a deed theft, and we had the Queens Legal Services there, and the Queens homeowners out there also, and the elected officials, and they were able to be helpful also, so that the at least the council members and the state legislators were there also, so they have their folks that they're able to give information to also. So we were able to have maybe about 200 people at this event, and it was really good. We want to do it in Brooklyn. We did it just before the pandemic in 2021, where we actually the AG went door to door. There was areas in Crown Heights and of course Bedford-Stuyvesant where it was rampant at that point, and we were giving out information and where to go to be helpful in regards to making sure that you don't fall victim.
Yeah. And I had one more question, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
You mentioned the Charities Bureau, and I've used that before to look up organizations to make sure. I wonder how robust it is and how up to date it is, because there's definitely an increase in organizations that use GoFundMe and that sort of thing in order to raise funds. And it just sort of like having the accountability, I think in those approaches is really helpful. So, we can even talk offline about how to make sure we're getting the word out to, especially if you're doing it through GoFundMe, to just check that first. But before suggesting that, we'd want to make sure that it was robust and up to date.
No, absolutely. That's a good point. And there's two people that work at the AG's office that I go to. So I would love to bring them, in, because obviously they're the experts, and to give you a little bit of the law of the land, so you can have an abridged version of how it goes and what to look out for.
Thanks. I'll follow up.
Yeah. Good night, Mr. White. We also met at the major ON Seniors event. You probably don't remember that.
Now you look familiar.
And Sean talked about the charities. I wanted to ask, for the seniors who are not, internet savvy, is there a 877 or 800 be able to connect with charities or registered?
You can always give them my number, and I can get the right person, right, to talk to them. Let me give you my work number, which is 718-560. Let me get this right. 2024. I don't often call myself or look at my cards. I just pass them out. The phone rings, I answer.
Okay. Thank you. So that was one thing. Thank you for that. And, thanks for this presentation. It's well needed. I do need this presentation to be made at my church, because recently we've had church members who have had tens of thousands of dollars taken out of their accounts. But I must thankfully say it has been returned.
Oh, great. That's good to hear.
Yeah. But I found that there were, I was just speaking to them, checking, see how are you doing, only to find out that they were going a whole year without receiving anything, because monies were taken out of their accounts, like literally like 40,000 plus. But so thank you. I also I had another question there. Besides, to know that there's
our seniors are very proud people. They've gotten this far most of the time, hard work and grit, right? And for them to even have the remote feeling of that they've been taken is almost crushing. So they're constantly thinking, how did the hell did this happen? How could I have let this happen? And we're strong, proud people, all of us.
Yeah.
From wherever we came from, and for us to live as long as we've and have this happen at this point of our lives, it could be, it's a sad situation where they may not want to have, or they may try to do it themselves, and unfortunately they don't have the information to be able to do that. And so that's why the Smart Senior booklet and getting out, and the Attorney General making sure that we're out into the community to give this information is important.
And I also want to thank the AG's office for the work she's doing, because there were a few persons that, not in CB14, but in other districts, that told me situations that were going on in regards to deed theft. And one was with a set of brownstone houses. And it turned out that there was a ring there that she was able to, catch those folks. But
Right.
they were going around taking brownstone houses. There were real estate persons involved. It was a large group, and they were just preying on those who were the elderly. So thank you for that. And then the one that I wanted you to just expound upon is internet scams. So were you talking about, because recently I found out about cash mules, I think they're called. That is when young men, because as you said, a lot of older folks are lonely, and they reach out to these young men, and then they end up sending them monies. So some folks I found out have been scammed out of like $250,000, and that's a lot of money for when they've worked hard and saved their money. So I don't know if that's what you were talking about in terms of internet scamming, but could you just expound on what that is?
Yeah, sure. We're online more, and we were forced to go online more, even our seniors, right? To go online more during the pandemic. So that lasted at least 2 years, if not more. And so we're in a post pandemic era. But what was happening is that because we weren't savvy enough and we had thrown into a situation where we had, not have done anything like this before. I mean, shopping on Macy's online and keeping I guess, our computer open, or having, again, easier passwords. The, the scammers that are these internet scammers do nothing else, and this is their job. Unfortunately, is they're online, and they're coding also, and they go through codes, and we don't know, and that's why having a secure site and changing your password from time to time. The AG office makes all 1,700 employees change their password once a month. That means from the AG to the guy that cleans the basement. And it's because they, after a while, they just get in. Now, I'm not a computer expert. I have no idea how they do it, but they do it, and some of them are really good at it, unfortunately. And so we need to just make sure that, again, that the sites that we go on, that we see the little lock, that we see the S, that our password is secure with different types of symbols and numbers, and letters and capitals and whatnot, is a pain in the ass, excuse me. But I'd rather them tell me to keep changing it than have somebody come into my computer and decide that, you know, uh, I like that JC Penny card he has on there, and and decide to start manipulating my computer because I won't know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yvette, I'm not sure if it was Nina or Glenn that was first.
Nina was first.
Okay.
So go to
Go
Nina,
ahead.
then Glenn.
All right. Sorry. Well, I did turn on. Okay. Does my video go on?
I can see you.
Okay. Thank you. I know that, we tend to think in terms of seniors, and we think that younger people are going to be a little more savvy. But unfortunately, like I've had patients, like they're right there in, the exam room, and they get a phone call. And I start to realize from the tone of, the conversation and some of the questions and some of what's, and the fact that they're clearly getting rather stressed out by the phone call, that something is not right. And I generally say, hang up now. Just tell them you can't talk, hang up now. So, having said that, is there something that you can make available that, like even just a small card or something? I would love to be able to put these around in the clinic, in the hospital, and make this kind of information available, not just to seniors, but to everybody.
No, I agree, Nina. I agree with it's not just and I mean, the target was seniors, but it is everybody. And we're all vulnerable to being scammed or having our laptop, broken into without us knowing about it. And that is something that I will take back to my folks. And I like the idea of a little card that's in your wallet or whatever, and some safeguard things to have. I think that's right. I what One of the things I did talk to folks about was having grandson, granddaughter, daughter, whatever, put all the numbers of, especially family members in the phones so that when your phone goes on, you know exactly who it is. And for everybody else, just let it go to voicemail. What's important is your family, right? And so you don't want to miss those calls. But for the most part, unless you didn't pay a bill, they'll call you. But other than that, you just want to make sure that your phone is secure and having those numbers there and having the people that you love, those names come up, right? And again, I would say I usually end like that just let it go to voicemail. You don't know that number. It's a number that you've never seen, may even be from a different state or whatever the case may be. It could even be from your own state, but
Yeah,
it's not familiar to you.
right,
You don't have to rush to get it.
right.
Let it go to voicemail. You pick it up later. And if it's somebody you don't know, you delete it. Just delete it. Don't leave it, delete it. That's all.
The other thing is like phony, it's your bank, da da da, we need this information, something, that kind of a scam. And it looks, unless you really know how to look at those messages, they can look very legit. And what I always do, when I tell other people, don't answer those calls, don't call the number on that
Yeah.
message. Look at the back of your bank card. Call that number. Don't delete the other number. Call the number on your bank. Tell them you received a call. The banks want to know because they have ways of shutting these people down as well. And they'll verify if there's an issue with your account. But the banks won't call and ask for this kind of information anyway.
That's correct.
So it just doesn't happen that way. And I got scammed. I mean, or not scammed. Somebody somehow made a phony bank card. This goes back a number of years ago. And I got a call from my bank and they said, did you make some purchases? Or does anybody else have your card? Have a duplicate card? Could they have made these purchases? And I was like, not at all. And, fortunately I did get everything back, but it took a few scary weeks and I had to call, all my, all the people I owed money to and say, until this money gets back in my account, I have zero. I actually had -0. But, but the way that the bank contacted me about it, they did not ask for, anything, that would have, I guess, triggered an identity theft.
Well, Nina, you would probably be great at our constituent service table at 28 Liberty, because those calls do come in and they do ask, what should we do? Call your bank.
Yeah.
Call your bank and say, I've got a call from such and such. Is this correct? Right. And so, Nina, I'll let the Attorney General know that we may have a possible part-time worker at
Sure.
some point.
I could use another job. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Glenn?
Thank you. Thank you, Daryl. It's very informative, but I would like to add a couple of things and simplify
Sure.
a little.
Sure.
My rule of thumb is very simple. If someone calls and asks me a question, there's only one thing I ever say to anyone. I don't answer questions to people I don't know. And 99% of the time they'll hang up immediately because they can't get you. They'll start with some really easy question that everyone's, oh, it's fine to answer. No question. Don't answer any question from someone you don't know. And then they can't possibly scam you on the phone. But there's a couple of others that are kind of interesting. May or may not be aware of check washing. When people write checks, people will try to fish these things out of the mailboxes. They clean them, leave your signature on, write them out to themselves or someone else. There's not a lot you can do about that, but there is one thing you can do, and that is use gel pens. It's very, very hard to wash a gel ink off a check. In fact,
Oh,
use the
okay.
thicker ones. Like some of them have various thicknesses of how they write, so they're finer point and thicker point. Use thicker point ones, and it's very, very hard for them to wash that check. And finally, the last one is just saying the word yes. A lot of these AI, if they can capture you saying the word yes off the phone, they can then use that to, well, do all sorts of things. So be very, very careful that you don't use that word on the phone, unless if there's someone you don't know. And anyone calling you that you don't know is someone you don't know. That's it for me. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Glenn, thank you for the knowledge. What was that? Glenn Penn?
Yeah, it's Glenn Wolin. Thank you.
Okay. I have not heard that. And I appreciate you giving me the heads up on that. Yeah, that's what I like. A little back and forth. Each one teach one, right?
Nina, I see your hand is still raised. Do you have another question?
She probably just didn't put it down.
Lower. Okay.
Yeah.
So, thanks, Nina. Does anyone else have any additional questions?
I hope I was as informative as I could possibly be. I mean, I could still talk for another 20 minutes, but I'll spare you. Actually, I'm sure you have other things to do. But thank you, Sean. Thanks for coming by. Florence, thanks for you guys going there. And this is probably a long time coming anyway. We should have. I should have been at the community board and talked about this 2 years ago. So that this way.
I think we have one more question for our Zoom.
Oh.
Thank you. It's really quick. I just wondered if there's a specific section for senior veterans. I've been getting a lot of questions from that particular, I guess, population, and they need a lot of help with a lot of different things. And so I just wondered if there was some place I could point them to.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have a specific veterans. Everything that comes through either our constituent service complaints, regardless of what it is, or it comes to the Brooklyn regional office, and we can either find the right
let me jump
unit
in there
for you.
then. If you're asking Corazon in terms of crime prevention that is specific to senior veterans, then we can work with the state AG's office to see if there's something there. If you're talking about general services, let's you and I connect offline, and I can we can look to both the Department of Veterans Services and to DIFTA, the Department for the Aging, and we'll dovetail those together.
Sean, I think even the DA may have a unit also. I'm not absolutely sure about that.
They're always a good resource. So thanks for that idea too. But we'll cobble it together.
Yeah. I wanted to say, well, I'm glad, Sean, you answered that, because I just came from a veterans meeting, and so can also offline give Corazon some numbers and emails.
Sounds like we
Thank you
might
both
have
so
our
much.
agenda for the next Human Service Committee.
Right.
Thank you so much, Mr. White, for your presentation and for your time with us and for sharing all the valuable information that you did tonight. And we look forward to receiving the resources that you'll be sharing with Sean.
I'm at your disposal. Obviously, Sean knows how to get to me, so I'm hooked. I appreciate
Thanks for me too.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it, really.
Thank you. So, Florencia, if you want to, I guess, jump back to the Teach and Learn planning.
Okay, so if you weren't here earlier, I couldn't see who was and who wasn't. Sean, was everyone here when we were speaking?
I didn't keep track. I'm not sure either. If you want to just quickly recap.
Okay, so we're planning on having in January, we're planning on doing lunch and learn series on Wednesdays from 1 to 2. We just have to fine tune. And this is in honor of Twain in regards to educating on our communities on diabetes, type 2 diabetes. And as Sean had suggested, we do maybe 3 on that and 2 on other health issues that affects members of the community. So as I stated before, that within our diaspora, there are discrepancies. There are 16% of residents that suffers from type 2 diabetes, as opposed to 6% for those in Crown Heights, no, in Park Slope and Borough Park and Bay Ridge, as opposed to Bed-Stuy, Brownsville, and Flatbush. And the lifespan is also different. There's 74 within the Flatbush area and 83 within the other areas that were mentioned. So, and we need to do whatever we can for a healthier community, a healthier diaspora. So, and in honor of Dwayne as well, we want to do this because we know that he'd probably advocate for this. He's advocated for so many things. So, yeah, we need some presenters. So if Nina, anyone in here, right, Sean?
Yeah, and Nina had her hand up and then put it down while we moved on to the main presentation. So,
Okay, Nina, go ahead.
Actually, a couple of things. One, Kingsbrook has a very, I think, robust diabetes and pre-diabetes program. And that's something that a lot of people don't think about, is that very often with, the right information and coaching, people who've been identified as pre-diabetic can make changes before they become diabetic. And that's even better than trying to fix things after the fact. So, I think that with 2 of us on the community board, being members of the Kingsbrook medical staff or healthcare staff, just putting in a little plug there. But I think it's important to know, especially if you're looking at your Bed-Stuy, Crown Heights, Prospect, Lefferts Gardens, these communities, because where we are located, we're very accessible, and they have online options as well. I had a question about the Lunch and Learn, which was, is that something that you are aiming, for public participation? And then I had, I guess, sort of a suggestion for another community-related topic that could be addressed. And I was trying, actually, I wanted to bring her up as a resource earlier, and I've been at the car dealer dealing with a recall all day long, and couldn't get access. But I can look it up. I guess, okay, so the first question is this Lunch and Learn something that's going to be accessible to the public?
Yeah, I mean, by link, it will be all on WebEx like we do, like we do our usual gigs. The link will be set out to whatever extent our presenters have their own networks. We'll try to, expand our network with those networks. And just like it, just like the housing lunch and learn that we did, we hope to have some participation. Recognizing the middle of the day works great for some who take a lunch, not so well for others. But again, we'll have it recorded and we'll store it as a resource on the website.
Okay, great. Um, and then the other thing was that a few weeks ago, somebody from the Department of Health came to my clinic, or came to see me at the clinic, and she brought in a whole just wealth of handouts on prenatal care, pregnancy care, and optimizing pregnancy and so forth. And this has been a big topic that Antonio Reynoso, our borough president, has been very concerned about, because the numbers are really, really sad, and it's a very, very complicated as to why there are all of these issues, and a lot of it is the lack of information, lack of knowledge. Anyway, this might be something that we could use as a resource for a lunch and learn or some other kind of presentation. So I'm just tossing it out there. Thank you.
Nina, I'm glad you brought that up, because we'll also need a dietitian, because one of the things I found out from some of these seminars were that many of the residents found out that they were diabetics or pre-diabetic. No, at that point it was far gone for many, because they found out when they went to the emergency room. And so I'm glad about that. And also that you brought up about the prenatal health, because here's what happens. Preterm birth in Flatbush area, 9.9%. In Park Slope, 4.1%. Infant mortality, 8 out of 1,000, 1.6 out of 1,000. Maternal mortality, 25 out of 1,000. In Park Slope area, 3 times less. So I'm glad you really brought that up. So really, we can do the second set on that topic. And look at how, for me as a Christian, God has just placed everything together. Thank you.
Well, I guess I'll try to loop back
Yeah,
tomorrow.
hold off
Well,
on the
I know I
follow-up.
have an
Let's
email
get the
from the
ideas out.
person.
Let's get the ideas out, and then we'll follow up on. Then I'll loop back to figure out how we're going to follow up on all of these.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Nina. Was there anyone else with their hands up? I think Glenn had his hand up. Did he?
Thank you. All right, I've got a couple of comments. Just wrote them down. I can't find the paper. All right. Uh,
We'll do one on memory health.
yes, that's an important one, memory health. Now, the last one you were talking about. All right, no, let me go back to the beginning. When it comes to diabetics, the single biggest problem is food, what people tend to eat, right? If you eat healthy, you tend to be healthy. Now, some people are genetically predisposed, and there's not a lot you can do about that, but most it's people are eating junk. And the junk food is even stuff that's not labeled junk, right? I mean, it looks like relatively healthy food, but it's got a tremendous amount of, corn syrup and all this other junk in it. The problem with that is the neighborhoods you're talking about. I've heard the term food deserts, that they don't have very many healthy food options. It's very hard for them to get fresh vegetables and fruits and various odd things like that. That's a serious problem, that even if they're aware of it, it's hard to resolve. Okay, that's the first one. The second one is talking about this stuff and educating people about these various things, I think is a phenomenally good idea. The problem is not getting people like Nina and other people to talk about it. The problem is getting the people who need to hear about it to show up. And I don't know what strategies are being considered to try to get the people we need to to come to these lunches, whether they're virtual or actual lunches, but still, actually, if you could be actual lunches and you could feed them fresh fruit and vegetables, or something. But and the final thing is what you were talking about in terms of neonatal health and so forth. um, Yvette and I were at this Methodist presentation a week and a half or so ago, and they have put a black woman doctor in charge of this department because what they have is lots and lots of evidence that women in general are not paid attention to in a lot of different ways, um, in terms of their health. They're just ignored. White women less so. Minority women, it's much worse. Uh, and that's a real problem. So even if they're educated, one of the examples, they used two important examples. One was Serena Williams, right? An incredibly well-known, incredibly rich woman, and she almost died because the doctors wouldn't pay attention to what she was telling them. And another example was of a couple who were doctors, or the husband was a doctor, and he said, "Oh, I'll have my doctor friend take care of you," and they still didn't uh, pay enough attention to the wife who almost died. So again, serious problems that people need to be educated about, but also to try to understand that they've got to be really forceful in their approach, because otherwise they tend to be ignored, because we're talking mostly about women, right? When it comes to diabetes, it's both men and women, but that's about food. Okay, those were the things that I had to mention. But the biggest thing is, how do we get people who need to hear this show up?
Heard that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sean?
Just I want to summarize where we are. But Nina, did your hand go up again, or did you not take it down? Okay.
Sorry,
Um,
no. I think I'm doing it backward. My
That's okay.
apologies.
Just to summarize, because I think we almost have the 5 weeks, because, before I summarize, Joanne had to jump off before we started this conversation, but sent me a message that, and she's in the healthcare industry, and specifically as a nutritionist dietitian who is somehow, her credentials are in diabetes diet care. So
we have her.
I don't know if she volunteered herself, but she suggested a session on the National Diabetes Prevention Program, which is a group style meeting for a certain number of weeks and clinically proven to help prevent progression, and thought that it would be a good idea to kick off with a prevention presentation, and said she could help with identifying a presenter for that, which seems to segue really nicely into Nina's suggestion with the Kingsbrook Diabetes and Pre-Diabetes program. So I don't know if that would be one day for both. It sounds like that could be 2 different days. Then to Glenn's point, follow up with a sort of diet, nutrition, food security. This board has already been involved in advocating for zoning for, I think they're called fresh zones, and talk about different resources in the community, such as the food pantry, soup kitchen. Also make sure people know that they're qualified for SNAP benefits, and just kind of have it all centered on that stuff. So I think that's 3, and then maybe ending with the Methodist Hospital presentation, and whatever else we put together, if that's a panel or just one presenter, to talk about prenatal and pregnancy care, especially as it impacts disparities in our communities. That might only be 4, but it might be wise to leave a day, because as we reach out to these contacts, they're likely to have a sort of complementing contact. And I'll leave it at that.
Yes, I appreciate that. Thank you, Sean. Thanks, Glenn. Thanks, Nina. So, okay, we see.
I think Yvette was going to respond to that.
Oh, go ahead, Nina.
No, Yvette
I
or
was
Nina.
gonna say,
Sorry,
I was gonna
Yvette.
say, I don't know if part of this, where we can talk about the importance of staying active and exercising as well, because, it's very good to have, healthy eating habits, to focus on nutrition. But I think also there's a piece where we want to encourage people to go out for walks, or to do exercise based on their, activity levels. Um, this Saturday, I stopped by the fair, the Health and Wellness Fair that Councilmember Lewis held at the Flatbush YMCA. And so there were a variety of, different organizations there. There was one organization that focused on nutrition, and they were blending smoothies on the spot uh, to hand out. There was a dance exercise class. There was just like a number of different resources there.
Yeah, so then maybe that is the segue that the National Diabetes Prevention Program segues nicely into the King's Book programs. The diet, nutrition, and food security program segues nicely into a health and wellness program the following week, capping off with the starting from the very, very beginning. That would be in utero, and taking it from there. But I also noticed that I skipped over Glenn's question about the outreach thing, and it's true that we have some limits in how far the community board reaches. But again, working with the different networks and having them encourage their patients and clients and others, and then having the resource on the I do this all the time with our meetings, sending it out and maybe having the like senior centers can present them, even after the fact, on the video. But we can talk about other ways of reaching into communities. I mean, a lot of times you don't engage with people because they're so inundated with what they have to do to get through days. But let's just leave it as a question that we'll continue to try to answer as we put it together. And also just a time check, we're at 7:53.
Okay. And before we close, I just wanted to say that if we get a flyer out, that we can send it out on our, various platforms. We can also, well, I usually send it out to churches in the area and invite folks from there. So, and, for those of us who attend church or different organizations, we can even share with Morris Heights Health Center and different organization, and also, as Yvette said, to get share with the council members office as well, and also get some of their resources for the exercise that we can list organizations that are like, we have the Crunch, right, with the exercise,
I
Oh,
just want to be careful promoting the for-profit.
okay, so none will do not-for-profits. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
If
If
I
I would
might,
like to say something? Oh, sorry, Glenn, go ahead.
yeah, thank you. If I might suggest, we have a pretty wide group of people who come to our board meetings, part of this board. Maybe we could ask them at and or the December or January general meetings if they could reach out to whoever they might know. And hopefully at those points we'd have specific dates and subjects, that kind of thing. Maybe even have a flyer attached to the minutes or something that could be handed out to every board member who comes, and maybe an email, because I think we can get to a fair number of people if our board members make even a minimum effort to reach out to their communities. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Nina, were you going to say something? Go ahead.
Is my hand still up? And I can't seem to figure out how to get it up or down. Anyway,
Okay.
but I do want to say, I brought a couple of the Thanksgiving, the various Thanksgiving flyers to work, and I asked the nurse manager if it was okay to put them up since I didn't have enough to do handouts, I only had a few. And and people came up and they looked and they were very, very excited. So, even just that simple, um, action of putting it somewhere where people could see it generated a good bit of interest. So, I don't think we have to get too fancy about these things. And we do have the senior center over on Avenue H and East 9th Street that I go by and can certainly, you know, drop in and get something up there.
Or sort of like we do the youth conference where we just do a little extra and bring flyers out and do extra drop-offs and that sort of thing. And we'll get them all, yeah, we'll work to get them all fancied up so it's a good flyer and it attracts people.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really valuable.
I think so. Thank you. Okay, Nina, do you have any last words, or is that?
Nina, I'll follow up with you for context so I can do direct outreach and plan a date. And Glenn, we do have dates if we're looking at Wednesdays, I think is what Yvette and Florencia and I had talked about when we did our preliminary brainstorming. So it's January 3, 10, 17, 24, 31.
Woohoo.
It's going to be everybody's new hard to crack password.
Not anymore.
Okay, is this going to be all on WebEx, or would you do something all WebEx? Okay. Well,
Lily, I'm sorry.
well then, some way of people accessing it. If
We can do some, that's a good idea. We'll do some how-tos. This is going to be on WebEx, and that's a good idea. There's somebody who's joined us named Lily who has a hand up.
Yeah.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Lily from NY Connects, Center Independence for the Disabled, and I've been listening to the luncheons that you guys are planning, and just wanted to let you know we are a program for people with any disabilities, include senior, any age. We connect them to services and resources. So if they needed to apply for housing, benefits, we can assist free of charge, and the program is in the 5 boroughs. Or it could be simply based on people's needs. Since I heard you speak, you needed presenters, we will be glad to share our information to assist the community you work with.
That's great. I'll follow up with you. We've reached out to New York Connects before, so we'll definitely reach out to make sure that we spread the word, get those services out,
Yes.
and engage with you on some of our other programs.
Exactly. And I just wanted to clarify, we are NY Connects, a Center for Independence for the Disabled, not NY Connect Housing, because sometimes people get us confused.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Guys, have a good evening.
Thank you. Yvette, is there anything else you have to say?
No, nothing else for me.
Okay. Oh, Marie.
Hi, how are you? Good evening, everyone. So I guess it was meant for me to be here tonight. I am from the Department of Health, although I came here today to present as a student from the CUNY School of Public Health. So I hear that everyone's talking about, getting resource. I am from the New York City Department of Health. I'm employed over there as a community engagement specialist, and I recently became the Brooklyn coordinator for the Office of Faith-Based Initiatives under the Department of Health. So if you need support, if you need presenters, I'll put my email as a worker from the Department of Health, and I'll connect you with the different division from the Department of Health. So I'm also part of the Triumph study from Columbia University. So I can connect you with different individuals to support the initiative. And also I would love some of my seniors from the Office of Faith-Based to attend the community board, because they've been looking for resources to give to their houses of worship. So that's not part of my presentation, but I just wanted to put that there.
Thank
I'll put
you.
my email contact from the Department of Health, and you can reach out to me, so I'll connect you to the different directors from different divisions.
Okay. Thank you. Sean, any?
All good.
Okay. All right. Have you put in your information as yet?
We don't have that function on, but since she signed up for the meeting, we captured her email that way, and so I'll reach out
Oh.
tomorrow.
Okay,
Okay.
great. All
Yeah,
right, thank you.
thank you, Melissa.
Motion to adjourn then?
Move to adjourn.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone. Happy
Thanks,
Thanksgiving.
everybody.
Good night.
Happy
Have
Thanksgiving.
a meaningful Thanksgiving.
Thanks, everyone.
Lots of vegetables and salads.
Will do.
Turkey.
Okay, good night.
And it's organic.
Right.
Good
Right.
night.